This week on the Heard Record Show, we got a hell of an episode. We're going to be reviewing the recently released mixtape, The Unpopular Vote, Volume 2, Side 1 by our very own Heard Record artist, PREZZY. Now, what makes this episode really unique is I get the opportunity to speak directly to the artist about the project, no middleman. Now, since I've known PREZZY for the last 20 years, you're also going to get a bit of a background of what led us both up until this point. So sit back and enjoy the show.
When you hear something, make sure you hear it right.
Records.
You heard the word, niggas know the style now. You heard
Records.
you heard
I know you heard of that.
who you know do it better. Fuck what you heard. Fuck what you heard. Fuck what you heard.
You heard me polish it.
You heard.
All right, PREZZY, welcome to the Heard Record Show.
Welcome to the Polo Lounge.
Hell yeah, man.
Hosted here by yours truly, PREZZY, a motherfucking Z.
That's right, and I'm Domincello. And we're going to be, we got a really interesting show tonight. You know, this year, the first season of the Heard Record Show, we've been focusing on mixtapes. And we've, been going over mixtapes of other projects, ones that have been kind of monumental and things along those lines. And this is going to be the first time we're actually talking to PREZZY about a mixtape that he crafted. Okay?
Ooh.
Very interesting. And
Very
there's a lot
interesting.
There's a lot of
Certainly is.
backstory around it too, which is why I love it, right? Because, PREZZY and I go way back. We've been friends, Jesus, what is it, like 20 years now? We met in
Probably more than that.
2000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
20
it's almost 24.
isn't that nuts? 24 fucking years. And, since day one, like, I remember the first time we fucking were in the same room, and, like, from that point forward, we were just terrorizing shit for a couple of years, And,
Yeah.
I don't know if we were ever talking music back then. I know we were both always
little
listening
bit.
to music.
Yeah, more. I didn't know that you had any, I didn't know you had the musical background that you had at the time. Because we didn't connect over that, so it just didn't really, it didn't come up, kind of, if that makes sense.
Bro, and at that point in my life, I was, there was only one thing on my mind, and that,
Right.
and that was,
but the thing is, I also remember, years later, the first time that you just started banging out piano shit, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
This guy's man good, bro. It's like, why didn't you tell me? You're like, oh.
It's crazy because I was playing the piano at 4 years old, right? And I had lessons, and then, I wasn't hearing what I could do on the piano with what I liked music-wise. So then I started playing the guitar, and I'm still mad young, 10, 11, 12. And then by the time, I'm in, senior year, college is around the corner, just that lifestyle of hanging out with people and fucking going out and finding the party, that just became number one for me. And I always think back to just how different would it have been if somebody put an MPC in my room when I was fucking 14, because that was the shit I liked, but I didn't know how they were doing it, and I was just too young. The internet wasn't really there yet. You couldn't go research, and it's just however it is, it always works out that way. But we end up so me and you end up becoming really good friends, and fast forward a couple of years,
Bro, we became really bad friends.
True, right?
Good
friends in the sense we enjoyed hanging out, but we did a lot of stupid shit, right? Definitely, it's definitely part of all of this flavor. I think the crap that we the shit that we put together nowadays is all
it's sauteing,
it's
well marinated. It's seasoned the long way.
Yeah,
and
the long way, the wrong way, and
right,
whatever he done.
Yeah.
And then I remember 2007 and 8, right? And there's a whole reason why I'm kind of going through this little pre-story here. I end up finally starting to build the studio in my house. Now I'm still like 1 foot in, 1 foot out as far as
Hey, buddy, you
what's
froze
important
on
to
my
me. I'm
screen.
doing a lot of stupid shit. I'm running around selling weed back then and all this other stupid shit. And I'm having you come over every once in a while, and you see I'm messing around with beats. And then that was when I finally really started to realize, I'm like, oh, wow, my boy can rap, right? Because I had these other guys in my building, and I remember Chetney and a couple of these other dudes.
Easy.
Yeah, right? I haven't seen him in years, man. I hope he's doing good. But, you know, I had these guys over, and, like, you know, they're rapping and shit. And then whenever you came over, it was just like, oh, okay. So that there's a very big difference here from, like, someone that's, you know, really good with lyrics and people that are having fun with it, right?
Right.
And the reason I bring that up is that the project we're talking about tonight, right? The Unpopular Vote, Volume 2, mixtape by PREZZY.
Let's give it up for the Unpopular Vote, Volume 2. Let's give it up for the Unpopular Vote.
Round of applause.
All right. Little round of applause. I like it.
Now, even in the name, you could very quickly realize it's the second of a project, right? It's a Volume 2, right?
Volume 2, absolutely.
So to touch on...
believe it or not, this is coming out after Volume 1.
Exactly.
So, you know, who would have thought that? I mean, to go from a Volume 1 into a Volume 2, quite a segue and a transition, and one that I think is most impressive and appropriate. Considering
yeah, I mean the sequencing is phenomenal from 1 to 2. Everything about it makes sense. Okay, you know, so on Unpopular Vote Volume 1, right? So this project came out in like 2017, I think, is when you released it. It was like about 5 years ago.
Yeah, 2017 was Volume 1, and if you'd like, I could give a little background of how Volume 1 came to be, and
I'd love to hear that, because there are some bangers on this project. Like, I have a list of like 7 or 8 tracks just from the top of my head that were like standalone, really awesome tracks. And then I had heard them outside of the mixtape. I didn't realize they were part of the mixtape until maybe a year or two ago when I really went through it. But yeah, man, I'd love to hear like how that project came to life. Everything from the name of it, you know, to the features that you have on it. And then we'll get into it. I'll ask you the second question on it after we go over that part. But yeah, man, give me
all right, yeah.
Let me hear it.
All right. So at the time, for those unfamiliar, in 2013, I had the opportunity to kind of like partner up in a studio project that I would basically like pay my way as far as the education of learning how to record and, you know, working, you know, with the actual machinery and as opposed to just being the creators on the creator side of it.
Yeah.
And it had its limits, like in the way it was built to begin with.
And when you mean how the studio was built?
Well, just the let's say the scope of what it could be.
Okay.
Right? Like, you don't ever want to go into something with false pretenses, right? Mm-hmm. And so I knew that me and the one of the main people I was partnering with, we didn't really have any history like that. It was just kind of like he needed a person, I needed a person. So like we worked on totally different types of music. It wasn't as cohesive a vision for me that I know is what works, right?
Yeah.
Like I know you need to have a cohesive vision to make real progress.
So now you're saying he's like it was mechanical, like you were the creative and he kind of just
like you could put all the machines inside of any building, and it's like if you don't have a guy that goes, here's what we do with these machines, here's how we're going to use them, and here's what the product is we're going to make, then you just have a bunch of fucking machines. You don't have anything, right? And so I was also fortunate to be able to bring my best friend at the time, Matt Fallon, rest in peace. Mm-hmm. He was the third partner, and so he kind of was like he was the tiebreaker vote, right? And essentially was the reason I was able to go into this project with confidence was that I knew between me and Matt we would handle everything, and then whatever if this guy gets real whatever, he could just leave at a certain point. You know.
So Matt was on like the same page you creatively,
Yeah,
and then the
yeah.
third partner was more the engineer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he was more just like, give me the work, I'll do what my job is.
Somewhat. No, it turned into that, unfortunately.
Okay.
But like a lot of things, and you and I, you know, we've obviously spoken on this show just about the unforeseen circumstances that'll come up in anything that you're doing, right? You're just talking about fucking making breakfast, you know, something happens on the way, right? This guy, you know, not to get too deep in the weeds about it, but he dealt with like the ending of a relationship particularly poorly. And
I remember that story.
yeah, he just never got over it. And it was like this, again, when you're trying to start something from scratch, like, bro, you need to be self-motivated. Like, that's the fucking beginning and end of that sentence, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's... And so I knew after, you know, 6 months, 7 months of this guy just not, you know, moving past the unfortunate demise of a relationship or whatever, like, it was like, well, if he's not in, then he's out, right? Like,
And this is all happening during the making of this project?
so no.
Oh,
This
okay.
is, I'm just giving you, so at the time 2013, we started building the studio, right? And
Gotcha.
during that time, I was working on 2 projects. I was working on basically just recording and accumulating as much material as I could, because I didn't know how long this thing was going to work for.
And
So
now you're
I wa-
already writing since high school, right? Just to kind
Oh
of give
yeah,
a little
but always
pretext.
knew,
Yeah.
you know, like, so
Yeah, yeah.
it's not like I had, you know, at this point, everything that I was recording was fresh, you know, like, so
Yeah.
I recorded something like 140 songs maybe in like a 2.5 year period.
Yeah, it's
All
crazy. You always got so much shit written.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I'm confident going into this kind of a field is that sometimes people have to worry about, can I do it again? Like if
Yeah.
they have a hit song. I may never have a hit song, but I can always do it again.
Yeah, I feel that, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I do the thing I do, and that's
Yeah.
whatever. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, you know. Hence the name, the unpopular vote. You know, that's kind of where
Is that where it came from?
Yeah, because
Okay.
So the 2 projects that came to result of the studio were my first full-length projects ever. So it was under the name Presidential Powers, and I did the campaign and the primaries, both full-length projects. And I was really proud of the fact that because I had recorded so much material, when I started working on albums, it wasn't me, you know, the next 10 songs that I write, here's the album. It wasn't that at all. I was able to actually go through and listen to 100-something songs and go, there's a commonality in a lot of this. These 3 here go together. These 2 really sound like they should be in the same thing. And then you start making songs particularly to fill in
The
spaces
gaps.
on these
Right,
projects. Where you
okay.
go, you know what this would need, right? And so I had the campaign, I had the primaries, and pardon me, this is shouts to Stewart's.
Stewart.
Not sponsoring the show, but Stewart's cream soda, phenomenal.
It sure is. I like that root beer.
Likewise,
Right, yeah,
Warren
yeah.
was just saying the same
Ron.
thing about the root beer. It's very, very good. So I put these 2 projects out and a couple videos, whatever. And it was funny because the success, we'll say, and I say that loosely because, you know, I mean, it was very regional. I got a little love in Philly. Shouts to Nicky Scars. He was kind of putting me on a radio show over there. He was doing at the time, and tournaments, and I was kind of knocking people around with a few of the tracks.
Yeah, I
you know?
heard one of them, bro, where it wasn't
Don't talk
like,
to me. I mean, that shit. There's some gems, like,
And that's off the unpopular vote 1.
no, that's off the campaign and the primary. So
Oh, my bad.
no, yeah, it's cool. But now, so what happens is, as soon as the projects come out, there gets this. Already, there's like dissension with this third partner. Okay, and it's like man, like, and I'm hearing all the shit that this guy's talking to people, and it's like, this is not gonna, this ain't gonna fly. Me and Matt start plotting, like, we need to da-da-da-da, right?
Yeah.
And so I start thinking to myself, like, if I leave this studio situation, I just put X amount of money into, it's gonna take me a minute to, like, get back into the studio. So I need I want to button up another project to get out the door with.
Okay.
Right? And so I'm looking at what I had, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a mixtape. Fuck it. I'm not going to try to bullshit the people that are fucking with my music and give them a half-baked album. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't have all the pieces right now. So, but what I do have is I have a lot of vibes from different styles.
Okay.
Different sounds, different eras.
Now, is that why the album cover actually looks like a collage?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
You're
I was
the man for
wondering.
catching that, bro.
Hell yeah.
And that was the beginning of the unpopular vote. Was the idea that, even home base ain't fucking with me over here. Jesus, And it was like, but I got all these flavors though.
Oh, okay. I see now. I see how that came to life. That's cool.
So I put the project together, and sure enough, it wasn't. I don't think I even had it mastered, and we ended the whole project with the studio itself. And me and Matt went this way, and Homeboy went and hid in his garage or whatever it was that he did, and it was a very timely decision. And I say that because I waited a few months to put it out. I didn't put it out right away when the studio thing happened. I let it, and it was kind of like, I felt, okay, I'm working on my boy Gonzo's project, the Dream Eater album, right?
Yep.
And it's like, I want to have something after that to keep the momentum going for me, for him, whoever we're working with.
So that came out in 2017 too, or
2017? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, and it was cool because a lot of people hit me up after that project, the Unpopular Vote won. And even though, like, to me, it was a very collage-esque project, like, I got a lot of feedback on that project that it was, people felt like they got it now.
Okay.
And that resonated with me because I was very almost taken back by that, because I thought I gave 2 full albums of original material, right? Mm-hmm. If that didn't catch you, I didn't think that the mixtape approach of on other people's beats and I didn't think that would be the thing to catch people. I thought I would just be holding over the people who already liked it.
Okay. And it's crazy. It's almost like it gives them permission to like it because they like the track it was on.
That's what that's exactly what I landed on, was I figured, okay, it's got to be a reflection of that, like, they didn't know how to listen to this, right? And now they hear it over, you got a Biggie verse next to it, and you go, oh, I get it. You know, or it's all over a nonfiction instrumental that no one else is using this, but if you know kind of deal. And it's like, oh, okay, you know where I'm coming from. I get it now, right? Yeah. So it stuck in my head that I'm going to do more of these in the future. And that's why I did volume 1 right on the first one, because I knew there was going to be a volume 2.
That was going to be my next question.
Yep. 7 years later.
Yeah.
But I knew there was a volume 2 coming behind that. I knew I had it, because I always am writing. So it wouldn't matter whether it was stuff that I wrote this week or stuff that I wrote last year. It's going to be in that collage style where I'm putting together the ingredients, and I hope you like the recipe, If not, there's going to be another dish, you know what I'm saying? There's hot plates every day, you know what I mean?
Bro, and it's crazy too. Like on the Unpopular Vote 1, when I'm going through it, there's verses I remember you spitting, or they were like the infancy stages of like 1 or 2 of them back in the day, and it's just nuts how between these 2 projects it takes you know, it's like across almost a lifetime. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you know, flavors from 15 years, like some that I touched in the very beginning, like and didn't know, or I was involved, or I witnessed, let's put it, and then got to come around full circle and help put this project, the next project together. You know, now with the and I just want to make sure I got this straight. I hope I didn't pull this off the wrong, but like on the Unpopular Vote 1, that you had Numb on that one, right?
Yep.
Asian Thoughts.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, you had killer track. I Eat Good. I remember.
Yeah,
I remember when you had the idea.
Yeah, I had done that originally.
Like you were coming up with the idea back then.
Yeah, I came up with that
crazy.
in Queens over by your crib, and
yeah, hell yeah, the steak's so rare.
That was one of the ones that, being someone that really believes in the universe and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that I managed to get a track that had its formation, you know, at that time almost 10 years ago, from you. And then the next project that I would wind up working on would be with you. I thought there was a certain alignment because we weren't working on the first project together.
No, bro, we hadn't talked in probably 10 years.
So it's a very interesting thing that, like, that's where I decided to leave off. You know what I mean? And boom, here's where you pick up. So life is funny like that.
It really is, man. But yeah, but it's nuts. Like you know, so I guess from my perspective, right? Like thinking from an artist's perspective, right? Like now I have a completely different insight into like how an artist can work and develop music. But, you know, I guess being green years and years ago, I would have thought, okay, I'm going to make an album. You come down, you write the 15 songs for an album and you put it out. Let alone, but what's a better idea? Writing 100 tracks and then taking the 10 best ones out. I mean, now you're talking about mastery shit versus, you know, just putting a project. And a lot of times what you find is, for me at least, it's not even always about the best 10. Like, I've had a weird conundrum every project. Like, to this day, you'll definitely vouch for this. My favorite songs that I have never wind up on the project that I put out. The favorite song, so you hold them or they don't fit? They don't fit. Okay. Like, a lot of times I'll have, let's say, it's the reason why I have always more than one project at the same time. The reason I work that way is because, yeah, I can vouch for that. Certain songs, to me, are what I call like the anchor of a project. Okay. It's like this song you build the project around, right here. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. The vibe is strong enough. So, for example, I had written a lot of personal stuff at one point, which was a bit of a departure. And it was like, there were certain beats you had made that I was like, man, I can't put this song on the Unpopular Vote. It's too good. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you start building up a different pile of a different flavor. This deserves to be built around. Yeah, yeah. So a lot of times, what happens is you think they're your best 10 songs or whatever, and maybe they are, but are they the best 10 in order to listen to? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like, bro, it's like having like the best outfit, but wearing it to the wrong event, right? Well, you know what I mean? No, but that's, I would say very close to that. Like, it's like spending $800 on a shirt and like somehow ruining the outfit, like when you wear it. Like, you didn't, it's like, you know what I'm saying? You're not wearing it with the right shit. You're wearing it with like sweatpants shorts. Yeah, what are you doing? You know? That don't drip right. Yeah. That don't drip right. So, like, to me, there's a certain sequencing of projects that matters. It's something that I feel is very lost in today's era. Being a seasoned cat such as myself and such as yourself, where I've been around the block a little something, you know. I remember certain things that aren't how it is now, and some of it I like, some of it I don't. Like, I like new, I like progress, I like change, but what's new is old, and what's old is new too. You know, everything comes around in full circle and what have you. It's like trends where in the 70s they had bell bottoms, and in 90s you got bell bottoms. Yeah. Or the fact you can read Marcus Aurelius Meditations now, and that shit still makes sense. It's all relevant, right? Yeah. So to me,
one of the things I always think is the sequencing of albums that I loved as a kid was a huge fucking. It was like you need the song that's a little slow before the fucking banger to hit, because if you have 10 of those in a row, they lose their meaning after a certain point. Yeah, and so you know what I'm saying. So the sequencing is so important to me, and that is so evident on this fucking project.
Yeah, for real.
Like, if there's anything about the Unpopular Vote Volume 2 that I think is above and beyond anything I've done, is the scope of it. Like, I mean, look, well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this project for a second, at the very least. And we could pop back to
for sure.
The other, but the Unpopular Vote, Volume 2, is in total a 22-song project. And it features a side 1 and a side 2, which is a shout out to the old way of literal mixtapes, where it was side 1, side 2, you had to flip the motherfucker over. Yeah. And I did it where the first 11 go together. Like, you don't have to hit no buttons, the shit. It just rocks.
Flows.
Yeah. And the top of side 2, it's like a whole nother project now, right? So I'm really proud of that, because anyone who hears it, the sequencing is ill on this project, for real. And it's.
Let me ask you something about the sequencing, right? Yeah. So with sequencing in general, right? Because, like, I knew that was the thing, but I never gave it the type of thought that I look at now after we've been working together, right? Like, completely new perspective on it. Now, like, sequencing from your perspective, is it to keep the album exciting as a playthrough? Is it to capture a certain emotion? Is it all of the above? Like, is there one part of it that's most important to you? I'm curious how you think about it.
I think that there's more than one way to approach that, and so I'm only speaking for myself, obviously. But
of course, yeah.
I do think that, to me, the main thing is you want the flow of the whole project to have peaks and valleys and highs and lows in a way that keep the listener engaged and allow for multiple plays. Like, sometimes if a project is not sequenced well, or they don't give thought to it, and it's just like a mishmash of 10 songs or whatever. Sometimes you only like the first 2 songs, and it's like, you know.
Yeah, and then like, sometimes they don't even get through the whole project, right?
Right. Because, and that's ideal. Like, the other thing that we did with the Unpopular Vote Volume 2 is, and this is different from Volume 1. On Volume 1, I had a couple of remixes of songs from the first album. I had a couple full songs that just didn't make the other projects. On the Unpopular Vote Volume 2, everything is over a old instrumental from out in the world, and I used beats that ranged from 1988 to 2020, if I'm not mistaken. The big Sean Berserk beat, I think it's.
And bro, you also picked beats that are extremely intimidating to approach to throw something on top. You know what I'm saying? Like, almost all of them, from Benny the Butcher on, what was that? On
Laughing in Your Face.
Yeah, Laughing in Your Face, Rubber Bands and Weight. And then, I mean, just all of it. And the same one with Berserker. Like, that's a hard-ass fucking hard-ass fucking track.
Well, I think, I mean, I'll put my money on the Rapsman instrumental. That, I mean, we could let the cat out of the bag on that one.
Get it. Is that one that all right? You're going into a hip hop project mixtape, right? And you don't expect to hear it open up with that, right?
No.
So, like, give me some. So what were you thinking?
The project starts off, and you hear like a kind of gravelly voice cutting a promo about how he's just a bad motherfucker, and he's a champion, and if he's got to hurt you to get his, that's fine.
That's it. I'll do what I got to.
and all of a sudden you hear this kind of majestic guitar come wailing in the background, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? What is this?
Yeah.
And if you know it, you'll right away be like, that's crazy that he's rapping over, yes, the instrumental from the Four Horsemen, WCW Wrestling, 1996 theme song. That's what I started the project off with. And I went full Ghostface mode on it. We didn't make a beat out of it. I just rapped over it.
Over it, yeah, 100%. And it couldn't have been better. Just everything in that track, from where those guitar riffs are to the words you're saying over them, it's like this epic ripping your shirt open shit standing on top of a mountain, right? You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And then but it's also at the same time like something you've never heard before, right? Like
I've never heard anyone on it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's not
and
something somebody
I wanted
raps
to
over.
come out swinging. I wanted to swing for the fences on the first track and make a statement that this is something you're not familiar with.
Yeah, and then you open it up with the invasion of the body snatchers, you know, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm in for a
invasion
ride
of the
here.
body snatchers. Probably want a cracker. I'm Molly Whopper straggler like Marvin Hagler.
Yeah, I mean everything that there's a lot of gems in that track. Like I'm curious, what is one of your favorite verses, or you know, lines out of that
On this
one?
project, this project wound up getting a lot of my favorite verses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Like Volume 1 only has really, when I look at it now, like maybe 5 jump out to me as like, yeah, you know. Whereas this project, and I've had this done for a while, so it's not, you know, that it's new to me. Like I know what's on it, and
Yeah.
it's got the 2 verses on "Laughing in Your Face" are insane. I've rapped those verses over different beats, and to the same result, wherever I was. Like, you know,
Yeah.
whenever I was rapping, if I spit either one of those verses, everyone else just kind of, you know.
I know.
you know, put the gun away, and so I think that Berserk has a nice flow to it because it's different from what I normally would rap on. I like, you know, I like the second half of the project on side 1 because it's very fun.
Yes.
Like, I wanted to not be obsessed with just rapidy rap too much. Like,
And that's a
I don't
crazy
like
point too. This project, it goes through the motions, right? I mean, from track 1 with Rapsman, from Laughing in Your Face and Berserker, that's like a tough motherfucking vibe, right? And then it kind of moves even into a little scarier with like Guitar Case Guns, and then, you know, with Suit of Fur, like those are like pretty.
But look what I put right in the middle of that, though, right? Is I put I Can't See.
Yes,
Which is
another intimidating
total
track though to
fucking
come on.
Biggie joint, which
Exactly.
shouts to Cat. Cat the Duchess absolutely bodied that song.
Yeah.
She sang her motherfucking ass off, and yo, I'm gonna tell the story of that song.
Yeah, I was gonna
Because
go ahead.
This shit
Somebody
is
has
crazy.
to.
Like,
Yeah.
I always speak about alignment and everything, right? And Dom's down in Tampa. I'm up in New York, and at the time, I had just started recording this project. I had my man Dan Ferguson from Dan Ferguson
Oh
Productions.
yeah, we did this
him.
in 2 different states.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
He came through with the mobile setup and was recording my vocals in New York. And at the time, I'm sending Dom like just, you know, the mixes, like not you know, just the basic mix.
Yeah,
down.
the
Like, here's what we did
vocal
today.
tracks. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, "Yo, I linked up with this girl, Kat. She's dope. She's a singer." And I'm reading the message like literally in between recording verses for the project, right?
Yeah.
And I read one of the messages. You're like, "You got anything off the top that you might want her to sing?" And I'm like,
Yeah, she's
I'm
putting her
recording the
jacket
verse.
on, about to leave too, and then all of a sudden,
I'm recording the verse for over the "Can't You See" instrumental because I already
Yeah.
knew I was going to do that.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. See if she wants to sing Total "Can't You See." I'm thinking like you're going to be like, yeah,
Give
she
me a
said she'd
week.
be down maybe next
Yeah.
week or something like.
bro, she
Tell me
looks at
why.
me. She looks at me and says, I used to sing this song in the shower like every day when I was a kid, right? And I suit her up on the mic, and we had that, I think, in 1 or 2 takes. You know what I mean?
Like, you sent it to me before
she knew
my
all the
session with
harmonies,
Dan
bro.
was done.
Like, that's out of this whole project on side A, that's probably, there's a couple of, like, because I put this project together from a mixing engineering perspective, and there was a couple tracks that were a fucking blast, that were just fun because I got to be creative with them. But
yeah.
that track with Kat on it singing with all the different, harmonies that she was doing, that was a fun track to put together.
I think it's so dynamic. I think that it when we talk about sequencing, I think that somehow the bag of tricks that I pull out in the first 6.
Yeah. It's not even that long of a verse.
The first six tracks on this project, I think I could put against any 6 tracks on a mixtape.
I mean, past the mixtape, this has, like, even though it's a mixtape, it's got more attention to detail than most.
That's
albums.
what I'm saying. I don't think anyone has a better 6-song run on a mixtape right now.
And the best part, I mean, what I think is so much fun with these mixtapes is that we can just go balls to the walls with, like, references, whatever the fuck we want to throw in it, and we have, like, so give me, I'm curious, like, how, like, did you know you wanted to put that Seinfeld, those Seinfeld vocal clips where they're talking about, friends with benefits and shit toward the end?
Yeah, like,
because that fits
weird.
too perfect.
Like, I had all these ideas that they would literally come to me because once I had the foundation for the project, like I already knew, okay, I'm using these roughly. I'm going to use these songs, right? Like, let's say I didn't know the exact sequencing until a little later on, but I at least knew, like, I'm using these 12 songs. I'm using the, whatever.
Okay.
And then once I knew that, it would constantly keep adding things. Like, I didn't have to try. It just the way that.
Remember, it showed up. Like, we'll get into it in a minute, but some of the other tracks. Yeah.
So look, on Suit of Fur, for example, I'm sitting there
watching.
Back and forth. I had just sent you the verse from this song.
Okay.
And I had the beat already, sent you the verse, and you happened to be watching, if I'm not mistaken, Bob's
Burgers, yeah.
And you go, yo, I don't know if it would fit on this per se.
I just sent you a clip of him
like, but
saying
what do you
the
think of
PREZZY.
this? I think this is a pretty fucking dope sample, and it's funny as hell. And you send it to me, and I'm like, bro, that literally, you just gave me the intro to this song. Like, that's where that needs to go. And
it was like, he straight said, he's like, the robot PREZZY.
He says he's talking about a robot president, and then he's like, a robot PREZZY, and he actually says robot PREZZY. I just lost it. I'm like, bro, that's
it was
it.
too much. And then it gave that track the right sauce it needed. You know what I mean?
Yes, because and that's what I mean about fun, is that I don't think the project goes to. It's like, look, if you're listening to this podcast, okay, you take the music seriously, right? Like, which you're listening to this, you could tell I do too. But I like to make that not as in people's faces when they're listening to it.
Okay.
Because I think if you take yourself too seriously, it ruins a lot of the potential of a project.
Yeah, I can see that.
You have to be willing to just do and say whatever the fuck you feel artistically.
Well, we, like, reinvented shit with this, Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Is that I'm really proud of that part. It's dynamic in that way, in that regard.
100%.
I'm just rolling up a second doobie here.
Doob number 2.
Yeah. It's it. We're celebrating,
Yeah, right. Definitely have means to.
Yeah.
And then, because, like, on, what was it, Berserker? Like, that track, like, that was when I started, because, this was a mixtape. Now, me approaching a mixtape from an engineering perspective, at first I was thinking, I don't know how hands-on I can be with creative ideas. Right, and then it just started kind of showing up when it needed to, you know. And, like, I remember Berserker was the first one, like, in the I guess you'd call it the break between the first and second verse. There's like that. There's a spot where you're talking over. It's kind of like a little skit, and then I remember there's a part where you kind of hear the sound effect that goes do 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 do, and I ended up creating that out of your voice. you know, and I
Dude,
took
you
a bunch
did
of
so
little
much
parts of your
shit.
voice, and it was just like the whole thing was a blast to make from both sides, I'm sure.
And that song too, like, so again, like, not, you know, this is the song where this is the album, I'm sorry, this is the episode of the show where I'm putting myself over, obviously, so, you know, take it for what it's worth. But, like, even on the sequencing, here's another thing, is when you listen to Laughing in Your Face, you hear a female throughout the hook laughing, and towards the end, more of it. And
was that Victoria?
yeah, that was Tori,
right? Yeah.
and it went, she's also then throughout Berserker, but more. And so it's like this dynamic that's like you feel the songs tied together without knowing they are.
Yeah, no,
You
that
see
was
what I'm saying?
fun.
Like,
That was
there's
fun
this
having them like
common
drag
thread
into each
from
other.
every song that goes, woo. It doesn't, nothing just pops up out of nowhere like it don't belong, like it showed up, you know, like that guy at the club, like, you know what I'm saying? Yo,
Yeah.
popping out like, look at this guy, you know? Everyone is with the right guests on this project, you know what I mean? Everything sounds correct. Everything sounds connected, like, and so, but like I said, it's the second half of the project for me is where the fun really goes into overdrive, because we did, when I started getting into the beats from like late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
You're talking to so few people at that point. You know, like it's only a, but the thing is, that's what I grew up on. Mm-hmm. So there's projects that I have, then there's the other projects that I'm about to put out that maybe you could see where my influences are, but I'm off of my own world, right?
Yeah.
And you and I would get into the production of Sold Out, for example, or, you know, the other big project, we'll keep the name on the wraps for now, but, you know, when you get into those projects and you're doing your own thing totally, I just wanted to take this time because I had been away for a minute. I wanted to really like flesh out a good representation of what my influences are, what had an influence on me, what I think is dope, and how I would put myself in those scenarios.
Now, most of these verses, and I have to assume, were written around the time we put the project together, or within the first year or two, because you're kind of talking about what we're doing, right? Like, so that had to be, I would imagine, written around, you know, within a year or two. Now, were some of them older?
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a mix. Like the last track on side one is
The Bad Guy.
Is The Bad Guy. That was pretty new.
And then Rapsman was like, I felt like
Rapsman I wrote right when we started the project.
Yeah, because it had that
first
energy,
things
bro, of what we're doing, you know, and it was,
And,
you
yeah,
encapsulated
I mean,
that so well.
And that video is just ridiculous. I mean,
I know,
the
I
video
can't wait
we
to
had
see
for
the
that.
finish.
That's the other thing too. I don't know if everyone else, you know, what they're doing with their mixtapes and whatever, but what do we got? 9 videos in the can already for this project?
Yeah, a lot.
Who's doing that?
Yeah.
You know? And again, like, look, I don't knock anyone for what they're doing, but it's like, to me, with the technology that's available, and if you're creative, like, I feel like you really should be able to get it popping on your own with your little team. Like, I don't really
100%.
believe in all this pay a guy to be on your shit and fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I want to work with people. Don't get me wrong, but you know who I want to work with is who wants to work with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck, I look like paying someone that doesn't even come to chill to the studio. Like, nah, I'm good, bro. We don't.
Yeah. For what? You know.
You know, we'll spend that time marinating here. You know what I'm saying? Or building with whoever, and then it's like that's manifests more real things that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
But there was verses also that were kind of a little older. Like One Man Gang, I think, was a little older.
And that was over that Rock Marcy joint,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's over the.
Again, that's another intimidating, you know, motherfucker to put yourself up on. And I think you rode that beat in a different way, and it was you were in the pocket. I'll tell you that.
I felt like I had a nice, you know, it's the other like I appreciate what you said, because I do hold myself to a certain, like, I didn't want to do like the cliche instrumentals that everyone, you know, Shook Ones Part 2 and fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's like,
no, you've heard it before.
It's it's the same way I feel like how when people go, oh, what's your top 5 rappers? And then everyone says Biggie,
Jay-Z,
like Jay and Nas is the first 4. And it's like, there's no way everyone thinks that those are the favorite 4 people. There's no way. It doesn't make sense.
That's the mainstream favorite. Now, what's your favorite?
Right. Who do you like? I'm not asking you what do you think are the best
what is
answers.
Not who sells the most
what
records.
Do you like?
Yeah.
And so if there's anything that I would want people to get from this project is that there's more things you can like. Mm-hmm. Just in life. Like, fuck it. That's some good advice. People should like more shit.
Yeah, and think on your own. Like, just
like
ask yourself, do you like it?
You know what I'm saying? And the reason you like it is because you think it's dope.
Well, bro, but do you like it?
Yeah, it's like, yo, but does everyone else like it? Fuck everyone else, bro. Like,
yeah. But again, that's like, that's what brings the mixtape, like you were saying, like it kind of, but it kind of lets people in because they like the other one and they like you on it now, and they're like, all right, I guess I can like you.
Yeah,
right?
it's
you know
like,
what I mean? It's like for somebody that's new that people
it.
don't know that they don't know yet. I think like there's a certain amount of like letting your guard down, or you got to be a person that doesn't care what other people think. A lot of people say that, but very, 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 very few actually mean it. You know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people flock together. You know?
It's the, what do they call that? The I can't think of the word now.
Herd mentality,
like the sheep mentality,
like the herd mentality. Yep.
Right. We're more the herd mentality of herd.
Yeah, herd. Right.
The herd mentality. You heard?
Yeah, you heard it with your own ears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not the herd's ears.
Yo. So I mean, like I think we did a real good job with creating a totally unique vibe while using nothing but recycled, you know, instrumentals. I mean, these are all other people's beats,
and not one of these
songs
tracks
that are out. Not that everyone's going to know every one of them, but you know, again, like if anything, maybe I shine a light on some of these artists that I grew up listening to that other people maybe they weren't up on this or that or whatever. So, you know, anytime you could give like that boarding ramp kind of experience, I think that's good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And the cool thing about it is like when I go listen to the originals, you know, only the Biggie one is very close flavor wise, but it's intentional.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, like, you redefined, you know what I mean? And you did a very, very good job at, like, literally redefining them. You know, like, Berserker's one like that, right? Because that track's hard, but you came at it way different. You're in this different zone, different pocket. You're almost using your instrument, your voice like an instrument.
Yeah.
You know, it's like riding the bass. It's a sick track, man.
No, I thank you. I really appreciate that.
I mean, you even got tracks in here that I don't even think anybody's rapped on, right? Like that Muggs track.
I got we did the Aubrey Plaza joint, which the video's been out for that. People could, you know, check that out. That was like the first video we recorded. I mean, I put that together. And it's over the instrumental from a group 783. The song's called Why. And I didn't even realize that the song wasn't even on there. That group only had one album. And this song isn't even on that album. It was like a single that.
But just an instrumental, or did it ever have lyrics? Did it ever have lyrics on top?
Yeah, it was a song. Like,
okay.
Yeah, like R&B though, you know.
Yeah, like 80s, early 90s, old school.
Yeah,
right?
and Muggs. That was the first group Muggs was involved with. So, like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool, and I felt. Even with that one, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but like you said, like I did my own thing on it, and that's to me that's my job.
Okay,
as an artist, is to just
push boundaries,
do your thing.
Yeah.
You know, like look, there's certain songs, but we've referenced Berserker a couple times. That's one of them. I actually have never listened to the original song.
Really?
Yeah,
like to this day.
To this day.
I got to be honest, I just listened to it. I listened to it when I was mixing to kind of see what ballpark I was coming in. And then I really listened to it in this last week. And, like, if I, again, that was the first time I wrote down, like, oh shit, he was coming at these intimidating. Like it's a strong track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then again, you approached it not even like just very differently in your own. You know, you re-envisioned it. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I mean, that shit's just sick. You know. And then like I'll tell you when I was putting this together, right? Before I heard the vocals, right? I'm downloading all the instrumentals, and I hear Guitar Case Guns, that NWA joint, right?
God.
And like I'm listening to the beat though. I don't know the original track, right? Because it was kind of it was just one I wasn't too familiar with, and I'm like, fuck, I'm not feeling this beat, right? And then by the time we put it together, it's now one of my favorite tracks, right? Because we did things to it like where it's like, you know, because you have all of these outtakes on that one from the Girls Just Want to Have Guns, right? Or whatever it was.
It was from Jackie Brown.
That shit's sick.
Quentin Tarantino flick.
Yeah.
And he had, like, at one scene, they're watching this, girls with guns or whatever the fuck.
They're the best.
You know, girls just want to have guns fucking thing or whatever. And it's so bugged out. And then they had you could find like the whole video on YouTube. So we found that, and it was like, put that. Like, I wanted to make sure that, to me, in order to make sure that you achieve that sequencing that works in a way that is an engaging listen, I think a huge part of that is not being like too self-indulgent with just rap and that's it. Like, you got to be able to use the mixtape for all it's worth, right? Like, the fact is, if
you can bring in your interests,
you can't fucking sell it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's a promotional product. So then let's use everything then. Yeah, right. Let's use all the samples. You know what I'm saying?
Because then people know who you are, though, right?
Right. So put them all on here then.
Because by the end of this, you paint a picture of a person that's either with us or not, right? Like they fuck with the same shit. They're into, like, they get the references. Like, you're pulling out mad, wrestling references. We hit TV shows we like. You know, like, there's just a bunch of different components in you said, from a promotional perspective, that beyond the verses and the music, it just paints this picture of like, okay, where are these, where's he getting his inspiration from, right?
Right.
And
I think we did an awesome job of that. And because, like I said, after the first one that I did, volume 1, like, I noticed that it seemed to function that way. And so I wanted to kind of like, also for myself, which, me, I gauge success on how I feel after the project. Like, I don't give a fuck. About the other side of it too much,
Yeah, no, I feel you, bro. I mean, we're making it because we're making it for ourselves to start.
I'm more about, like, did everyone in the room think it's good that we made it together? Yeah. Or is everyone happy about it, Yeah. But I wanted to show that I kind of, like, grew from volume 1, like, as far as my understanding of how to put a project together like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just put together better. And
everything
I feel like by doing a double side, 22 track joint like that, it's put up a shut up, and I feel like I did, So
oh yeah, hands down. And then I tried to match that on the Sonics, so like,
no, it was so great for I gotta say, I mean, we're talking about this project, but what you brought to this during the whole, like, creation of it was so dope, because I felt like I felt like the understanding that we built of what I was working with, like, was an investment even in the chemistry that our future work will have on original stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because, like, you were able to really hear
we sauced
all
it
these
up
influences
way more than
I
I thought we could. Yeah.
And kind of like, I mean, people don't know, but I know the beats that you've made in the time since, and I know the stuff we've worked on since, and it's like, I know for a fact that at least a 50% boost was, like, achieved through the process of this mixtape. I feel like we achieved like a 50%
like being
cohesive
more
chemistry
cohesive.
boost.
Yeah.
Because for future work, just because of like knowing, one, it's doing the reps, and then two, it's like like I said, it's a lot of influences, and we covered a sonic range from a really wide fucking palette.
Well, and think of this too. I mean, you're in New York, right? I'm from New York originally, but I'm out in Tampa now. And we did this whole project, 1,000 miles away from each other, right? So you're sending me these stems, like you were saying. But then when I'm mixing these and putting these together, it's not like I'm just hitting it on the head. We're reviewing this shit, right? Like I'm hoping I'm hitting them on the head, but regardless, we got to go over it. So we're doing screen shares. We're fucking sending files back and forth with notes, and then 22 tracks, right? Most people are putting out a single 3-track EPs, and like this was the first 22-track project I worked on back to back. And, I learned a lot through that, man. There was a lot of things because from an engineering perspective, right, in the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, I went as far as going to France to fucking mix with Leslie Brathwaite, right, who's like one of the best engineers out there in hip hop right now, mainstream hip hop, and taking courses at some of the studios, and it's been this continual learning process. And then that mixtape is, I really think, for me, the pinnacle of when all of that meshed together because of just the gravity of the project, and it was it took me, I think, a good 2 or 3 months to get that all buttoned out with you once we had all the pieces. And it was a hell of an accomplishment at the end of it. And then, like, the best part is when, toward the end, we were like, okay, you're going to split this into side A and side B. I'm like, oh, shit, we get two hits from this one.
Yeah, it was really exciting because I knew even the cover artwork, like the concept that I had for it, I thought was like, you got to do side 1 and side 2 and double fucking birds, So, because I mean, what's more American than that, right?
Yeah, right.
All you can fucking eat, buddy.
100%. Well, and then the second thing is like, and I'm sure I remember you even bringing this up, but at what point do we have to recognize that in 2013, I don't think anybody's got the attention span for a 22-track project nowadays? A couple people, you know what I'm saying? But like, to try to get introduced, it's like probably too big of a too big of a piece to chew. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is too is that it's 22 tracks, but it's like I said, it's split into this side 1 and side 2, and we'll talk in the next episode about side 2 more. I only spoke about side 1, but one of the things I want to point out about side 1 is even the differences in side 2 and side 1. Like there's a whole different vibe on side 2, and I can't wait to get into that conversation because I had a different goal with that.
Yeah, there's different features on that one.
Totally different features, totally different sonic eras, everything. Mm-hmm. And it was, there's reason behind that, and that's, I think, a good convo too. So, side 1, like I said, I wanted to have a great flow. I wanted it to be an engaging listen, and fun was the main things. And I feel like we did that.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
If you don't think that's fun, maybe you don't like rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yo, and you want, I just had this pop into my head because you were talking about synergies, right? Like how things just lined up perfectly. And then you had mentioned that Hit Boy track, that Berserk, the original one, you never saw the video or never listened to it?
I never heard the song.
Bro,
yeah, no.
So I even have a note here. And all right, so the track opens up, they're like in a fucking bodega, right? Talking. And like dudes talk, I forgot who's talking to who about what, but they're just talking about like he's drinking in Arizona. He's like, oh, that lowers your sperm count and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden this little girl comes up and she has, remember those little grenades, those 25-cent, like, grape drinks and shit? Yeah. She comes up with one and it's got an eye on it. Okay, and then she throws it like a grenade and it blows up and the song starts. And then when you start the track, you say something about the eye on the fucking the Y's.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I thought 100% that you were riding off of that.
Never knew that.
That's fucking weird. Watch it later.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's before the song even starts.
Yeah, because I say my eyes on a big bag of chips like the Y's out.
Yeah, and then on there the eye was on the bottle. So I was like, oh, he had to have fucking known that.
That's wild. No, yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It's I
That's
remember.
Crazy.
I just had gotten put onto Hit Boy, you know, at the time, because when Nas started the run of albums he did with him.
Yeah, the
and so
Kings.
I wanted to get a Hit Boy beat, but I didn't want one of the Nas ones because I didn't want it to be, for whatever reason, I had, you know, not to me Nas is the greatest of all time. So I have, like, you know, the one song we got with the phone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love that one.
And that's
that shit's hard.
That's a classic Nas, you know. So I like to be careful with doing too much in one. You don't want to pay too many homages to this. It comes off, you know, a little weird, right? You like, Nas is the greatest. So, you know, I wanted to go with a different Hit Boy beat, and I was like looking up Hit Boy instrumentals on YouTube and what have you, and I saw that there was one that said Big Sean and Berserk.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always feel a certain way when someone has the same name as me, but then they're going to be the big version of it. Like, really?
Okay.
Doubt that. I mean, like, let's stand next to each other, you know? We'll see. I'm pretty sure you're not that big. So, anyway, neither here nor there. I just never had any interest in hearing. I just heard
just seeing your name
like,
somewhere.
I'm like,
like,
let's go. I'm rapping
up?
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, medium Sean, whatever. You know?
Your name's what?
Yo, just say it. Like, I feel, you know, it's like, you know, I don't know. Who decides that, you know?
Yeah, right. I guess to each his right. You decide it yourself.
Yeah,
you
listen,
gotta
I can't be mad. I mean,
Yeah.
I could just, you know, have to rap like in a challenging way. Like, that's how I took it. Like, I'm gonna body this fucking beat. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, you definitely body it. That's
and then
for
we'll
sure.
see if people feel who's Big Sean or what.
I'll tell you what, one of the Big Sean Power verse for me, just because of how much I love fucking Always Sunny in Philadelphia on Suit of Fur, right? Wasn't it Suit of Fur? Yeah. Where you have that line, let me just see, how did it go again? The one with Danny DeVito. With blasting. So anyway, I started blasting, right?
Yeah.
Wait, did I write it down? Oh, here it is. Black-hearted assassin. I'm like Danny DeVito, half a kilo. So anyway, I started blasted. It's always sunny in hell, though. Jump from a cloud in heaven and land with the elbow.
Yo,
you know what I mean? Like that's
yeah.
Oh,
that's one of my favorite verses.
Yeah, and then I found that
album.
little DeVito clip and threw it over it, and that made my day. I thought that shit sauced that up, fucking like.
I thought that actually might be.
It's one of my favorite.
That's one of my favorite top verses because I really there was a stream of consciousness that you can hear. I think you could catch it on that. A lot of that I wrote in one thought, like that whole
and it's all
16
connected,
bars is like it's very. The connective tissue is like very there, like for every line. Like you said, like I'm like Danny DeVito with a half a kilo anyway. I started blasting. It's always sunny in hell though. Jump from a cloud in heaven and land with the elbow, right?
Yo, and it's just
like,
a visual. You like see it
and my thought patterns are erratic, so the whole thing they alternate like lanes of traffic between heaven and havoc. It's not a knack.
Yo, and the beat's doing that with you. It's like there's sounds coming in from fucking left and right on that beat. It's very spacious.
I feel like I matched that in the way that I wrote it, and I think that's always the best result when you have that. Like when you can almost kind of write and spit your verse in a way that it feels complementary to the track itself.
Yeah, like same thing with Rapsman, like that kind of connection with the beat, right. Where it's like it sounded like there wasn't a beat first, there wasn't a verse first. This emerged as one thing.
That's why it's cool to like. For me, like I also love rapping on different stuff. Like for that reason, is that you're able to tap into like whole different parts of your personality.
Okay. When
you do that, like. You don't. If you only write a certain kind of thing, you get stuck with certain beats because it doesn't fit that matrix of how you feel you have to sound. Right?
Okay.
But if you feel comfortable to rap on anything, really, it frees you up to like speak from different parts of your psyche, even.
Yeah, no, I feel that, right?
To get in
100%.
that pocket that it works with the beat like that, right? So it's like for sometimes you would say like, wow, that was a little crazy what you were saying on there, you know? And then it's like, but yeah, but it goes with that, right? Like, doesn't it sound like, and it's like, yeah, it does. And you know, sometimes you go with something more smooth because that's what it is required. Like you hear it and I think for example, the One Man Gang joint, you know, is super silky.
Yep, 100%.
And, you know, that's what it needed to be. Like, so, you know, you take out your big boy belt and you fucking get to work, brother.
And then like the
you know what the fuck it is.
The suitcase gun, or what was it? Guitar case guns. That one is very fucking rough, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, and then it's matched, you know, and definitely matched.
Yeah. I mean, that was that album, that NWA album is so slept on, bro. Like, that's off their second album, which doesn't get anywhere near the amount of love that, you know, the first NWA album. That's, you know, Straight Outta Compton everyone knows that's a classic.
Yeah. Like there's tracks I heard for the first time just because you picked
and
these
it's
beats.
crazy because in my opinion, just for my personal taste, it's not really, I can't say I'm right, but my personal taste, that's my favorite era of Dr. Dre's beats, like ever. It's like that second NWA album, like, man, like Dre was smoking anything that moved, man. He was, because that's right before if you look at the time period, that's right around the Chronic, you know, it's there. So
he was in the zone.
And it's almost like it was a step rougher still.
Bro, you know what's crazy? The next project we're recording when you come out here in January is going to be on the same board that album was recorded on.
That's sick.
Yeah, right. Ain't that nuts? It was the Chronic was recorded through that.
It's an honor to be, you know, like tomorrow I'm going to be on the Shutting Water podcast. Travis Grant, my guy, you know,
Travis.
And I was saying to him, like, I'm like, nah, it's just a blessing right now to even be in the circles that I'm in, doing the things I'm doing.
Yeah, and that people want to talk about what we're doing, you know?
Yeah, like, you know, it's dope. Like, and then just to have the creative, like, people around you. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough because it's hard to find people to work with. Well, no, let me take that back. It's not hard to find people to work with. It's hard to find the right people to work with.
Yeah, 100%. And then, bro, when you're fucking at when you're just getting into it too, you got a lot of mouths, a lot of people saying they're doing it, and then when push comes to shove, you realize, oh, they're not, right? And then you got to kind of filter your way through that, and then you start finding the ones that are on the same level that are putting that kind of work in, and then that's starting to like develop now more, where that's almost all that's around us.
It always shines through. Like, and you know, I always say like, there's. Like, I'm not even. I'm the first to say I'm not the best at the promotion side, or you know, it's tough because I don't feel like. Part of me has this old school mentality of like,
if you like it, then fuck with it.
You let your vibe attract your tribe. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. It doesn't work like that in life. That you just win by being mad annoying. Like, I don't think it does. You know?
Just because you're visible, it doesn't.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't
most
like
people
that.
think that, though. You know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's a lot of merit for them thinking that. It's not like there's been enough evidence that that it, to some degree, might be reasonable.
Yeah,
to think
like
that
being seen is good in certain cases, but if the only reason you're being seen is because you're being seen and not because you're being sought after, it's a very different thing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because then the minute it goes away, then people forget about you. You know, so it's almost like the art of developing and creating fans has definitely changed since internet, right? Like, because before you'd hear it from somebody you trusted, and then you'd go listen to it, or you heard it on a radio station you trusted where you liked the other music, you know? And now there's so much of it coming at you. It's like, well, what's that differentiator then, right? It's like I'm seeing a bunch of people rapping, so why are you, you know? And that's a good question in general. It's like, how do you stand out on that, right? And I think when you try to stand out is when that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You got to stand out by being unique to yourself as much as possible.
Everyone has that day in the sun too. Like, there's no fixed things. Like, that it, like, in other words, if you just doing the reps and putting the work in from a place of purity, as far as like, I'm just making stuff that I feel. You don't know how that's going to manifest and shake out in your favor, but it will shake out in your favor one way or the other.
Yeah,
like
I totally believe that.
You understand what I'm
As
saying?
long
Like,
as, like,
you don't
and you
lose
got it.
by-
Might
you don't
take
lose by creating, and you don't lose by completing projects. You don't lose that way.
no consistency.
You know, by putting quality work together, you wind up, whether it's the way you intended to win or not is not up to you. That's the universe's part. But 100%, that's the way that you win. Is by
Quality
putting the
shines
fucking
through.
steps in. That's
Yeah.
that's the answer. You know.
And it's crazy. There's quality in so many different perspectives, right? Like, there's quality is like, because I've seen people that might have made a good track and then put it out rushed without it mixed and mastered, and now it's not quality to listen to, and then that vibe doesn't get, construed the right way. And then, like, then there's quality of intention, right? Like, all right, you wrote a verse, but how much, like, did you put really focused quality time into that and make it the best that it could be, And I think those things shine through. They do, like, just like a quality piece of furniture will be the last piece standing, right? You know what I mean?
So true, man.
Yeah,
So
it
true.
might not have been the favorite chair, but it's the last one there, and everybody remembers it, right?
When we were recording this project, I had, like I said, Dan Ferguson was coming by the crib once a week for,
Hell yeah.
I think it was
for a while,
6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
But I
But I
remember,
remember
like,
you
the
guys
last-
sending out, sending me 4 or 5 tracks at a
the
time.
last
Yeah.
session I did 6 records in one day.
Yeah.
And he was like, he kept going like, bro. He's like, what's crazy is that you don't have any of this written down. Like, he's like, you're
That's
literally
shit.
just going in there and you have it memorized already, cold. Like, and I said, I'm like, yeah, because if you don't have it cold, you don't have enough time to season the way you spit it.
Yeah.
Like,
100%,
you know what I
bro.
mean? Like, if it's not memorized, you're just going to be reading it, and it's like how.
Bro,
I
and
don't
then
know,
that
that's what
split
I'm telling you.
second, and then that split second of you having to read it and not fully being it,
Yeah,
it's
you
not
lose
100%.
a certain potency that you would otherwise have if you had it cold.
Yeah.
And so I always look at it as like that's part of the job. And
Yo, and
it's
shout
funny
out to,
because,
like,
I
Jim
said, not everyone looks at it that serious, and but it's helped me tremendously as far as like credibility in circles where
Oh, yeah.
people don't know whether to take you serious or whatever, because maybe they're not familiar with whatever, and so but then you go in and just I'm not pulling phones out. I'm just it's like, oh, okay. So
Yo,
you
and
got
I was talking to Jim Forbes over down at Clear Track Studios, right, in Clearwater out here, and he was in a session back in the day with Wu-Tang, and he was telling me, he's like, and like he's just telling me a story, right? And he fucking's like, the first thing he says, like, he's just so surprised by it. He's like, not one of them had a piece of paper with their lyrics on it. He goes, these guys came in and they were fighting each other, knocking each other off the mic. But he's just telling me a story, and like I could tell that most people probably come in with paper or a phone the way he told that to me, and
Totally.
like that. There's something to it, I mean, like, when you know something really, really well, like, and again, even just like with rock, right? You think these guys, when they write a song and it's like, the ones that are still playing 20, 30 years later, like, it didn't come off the riff the first time they sung it like that. It was through singing it and feeling it out and finding that groove, and then it locks in,
Yeah.
And there's like a certain level of work in the shit you already have too, to make sure it's just all the rough edges are smoothed out.
Bro, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think about that a lot because when I work on stuff, one of the reasons why I think it's important that stuff is marinated and ready to be, spit out is like you're not doing all of the stuff already that a band has to do to make what winds up being like legendary stuff, It's like you're not so you need to at least be considering your voice as an instrument and trying to mesh in like
Bro,
like
especially
the
when it's
lettuce and the cheese kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to mesh in there, like with what's already there, right?
Yo,
like,
and especially when it's the focal point, right? And you got a band, you got a
that's what I'm
five-piece
saying,
band, everybody's
right.
putting their
So
shit
how
in.
does it
and
work
then, like,
if
there's
you don't
just,
have it simmered up that way already? If you're just reading it, like
yeah, like it better
that
be
doesn't
real
make
good
sense to
though,
me.
right? Because it's the
not
one
like I'm
thing.
being extra. It's like it doesn't make sense the other way. What are you doing?
You know, and it's nuts. Like when I'm talking to some of these OGs in the studio that are telling me about back in the day, like, you know, back in the day when, you know, these record budgets would have, these record companies would have these really big budget projects, they would rent out studios for like 8 months. And these guys would just sit in there and work on 11 tracks for 8 months, trying to mic the drum up. Like he said that they would spend a week micing the drums up differently and then running through the whole thing and then finding, like, so, I mean, there was a level of quality going into these things that nobody sees in the front. You know what I mean? And then you go to now.
But they know it's weird because it's like, it is translated somehow.
100%. But
You know
now
what
it's
I'm
like,
saying?
and now
Like,
you
in
got
a
a guy
weird
in a
way.
room, you know, spitting a verse or making a song in one day and putting it out and being like, why didn't it hit? And go, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't put any attention on it. Why is anybody else? Right? You know?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And it's like, it might be good, but it's like there's some, you know, whether it's energetically, but somehow there's something else that's in there. When all that's baked in, it's there, you know, and it hits. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy
Absolutely.
shit, man.
Absolutely.
It's fucking crazy.
Man.
Well, and getting back to the album, right? So PREZZY does it, PREZZY large, right? Ultramagnetic MCs you picked, right? For a track on PREZZY large.
Keith, the legendary.
Yeah, I
One of
mean,
my favorites
you
of
picked
all
some.
time.
Like, did you go out of your way to like find obscure beats, or you just
No,
these are the
this is all
beats
stuff
that
I love. Like,
fit that
Cool
you
Keith
like?
is
I
one of
know
my
this
favorites.
needs to be here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like the PREZZY Large joint, like Papa Large is one of my favorite. I loved my boy back in the day, Brandon, like my next door neighbor at the time. He had like old school taste even at that age. So like I'm growing up in the late 90s, 2000s, and he was the same era as me, but he loved listening to 80s rap.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, out of everything, the Ultramagnetic MCs, Cool Keith stuff, all caught me as super like futuristic.
Okay.
considering.
It
And
just
just
stood
felt
out.
to me
Yeah.
like, whoa. And so I loved like Critical Beatdown and fucking, you know, I had the Four Horsemen joint on cassette. Interestingly enough, Ultra's second album was called The Four Horsemen.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
and
wow.
that's what this was. Papa Large is off. Actually, Papa Large is off Funk Your Head Up, their third album.
Okay.
But
Shit.
yeah, 91, 92, right in that time period. But yeah, that was one of my favorite songs. The Alcoholics is one of my favorite groups when I grew up.
With the bad
That's
guy?
West Coast. That's West Coast. You know, that's the bad guy was over. You know, I had their first album, 21 and Over. I had their second album, fucking. Wow, what the fuck was the name of the second one? And the third one, I think, was Liquidation.
Man, you
what was
got
the
a
second
good.
one?
You got a good
21
memory,
and Over.
bro.
I don't know what the fuck. Anyway. But yeah, that. PREZZY does it. You know, that was over. Easy does it, which
Yeah,
again,
like, speaking
that
about
was,
PREZZY does it.
Easy was one of my favorites, man. Like
That
he was
intro. You want to talk to me about it a little bit because that's a pretty
What?
epic intro.
the intro, fucking yeah. I mean,
No, the
that's-
intro of that track
Oh, for what?
for PREZZY does it.
Oh, okay, yeah. That is
Because that, like, you know, a 2.5 minute intro that's like got 7,000 different aspects to it and different vocal clips, like, and then that's not on the original. It's not like, oh, let me do the same thing. You know what I mean?
No.
So like
No.
that, I'm curious, like, was that already? Did that just as you found one part, it built on it, or you knew like you had that whole vision in your head?
It's weird. Like I didn't know. What happened was I
Because
had
you
the
basically
verse.
delivered that to me like pretty close to the way I ended up. I mean,
Yeah.
like sonically, it
Yeah.
sounded much better after I mixed it. But you basically knew where you wanted all those parts, right?
Yeah,
at the
no, I
beginning.
gave you a nice. I cut and pasted that motherfucker together. I mean,
And bro,
you know,
that was like there was probably 100 little pieces all within a minute on different tracks between the
Because
girl's
I
voice,
knew what I
Gonzo's
wanted.
on it.
I did know what I wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard it in my head. I knew. I just had to get it there. And what happened was that only happened after I had the verse first, and that when I was playing the beat, I felt that the verse sounded best on the part where I had it, but that doesn't come until like 2 minutes into the song.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do I want to do more verses? Like, cause I don't know, man, like this beat, it feels more fun. Like I feel like you could do something cooler with it. And so there was, I always keep like folders of saved shit that I come across. Like, boom, this is fire, this is fire. And I had these women singing that shit, you know, the whatever the chorus that the women in that song have, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, that's from that like that's from like
I found
that news.
and I was like, yo, that sound fire on there. And then I wrote the hook that Gonzo does on there. That's my boy Gonzo.
Yep.
Peace to him. He came through and he's singing that hook. I wrote that hook based off of a George Carlin line.
That makes sense.
Like, yeah, it was like a twist on something he had said, and me and him, our friendship was off of Carlin. Like that's how we met. So he knew what I was going for. Like he knew how to approach it. He killed it.
He gets what you're doing for sure.
He killed it. And then again, Tori, who was in the video for President and then had helped me with this, with the laughing and stuff on the other tracks. There was like during the time when I was recording that, I was like, I'm just gonna record you just saying whatever. Is that cool?
I remember the night before
popping mad shit, like you know, little dick motherfucker, just ripping on dudes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is incredible. I'm like, I'm cutting that shit up later and using it. And I don't think she believed me like I was really gonna. But because it was funny, but I don't think she saw the vision the way I had it.
Yep.
Like, you know,
she loved it after, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Big feedback. Yeah, she's a big fan. So it was cool. Like, and that's, you know, to me, that's a big part of it is you want to make sure that everyone's like, I was represented well. You know what I'm saying? Like, because people are taking a risk anytime they work with someone. You know, and
creatively,
with egg on their face and look like a fucking asshole. You know what I'm saying? So you want to see kind of like that the person is putting the right effort into it. You know, and that's a big part of it is I think coming out of it where I know everyone who's heard anything that I've worked on with them in this time is like very, very happy. So, you know, like that's all I could worry about. You know, what I mean?
And bro,
like, how could I worry about it outside of those parameters? What sense do I have? You know?
Yeah, no, you don't, right? Because when you're starting to think for other people, you're just in no man's land.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's just
you never. You
don't get to choose how the world receives it. You know, you get to create it. That's the cool part, right?
Yes, that is the cool part, right? That's the fucking, and it's crazy how some people aren't even like in that. You know what I mean?
I know, it's weird. I say it all the time. I'm like, people rush past that part, and it's literally the best part.
It's, I mean, it's like it's the part. You know,
it's the whole thing. It's like that's it.
It's like getting excited to go to the movie.
That.
Yeah,
everything else will fucking work out. I promise. Like, it's not a secret fucking code, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because how could you not like like whenever there's truth in something, like whether it's someone just being themselves, right? That's a truth.
100%.
Yeah, how can you know, you might not agree with it, but like, you know, it's something that's real. You know what I mean? And even if you don't like it, people might hate it, but that's still a love almost for it. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
It's two sides of the same coin, and you know that's why I've never had a concern about. Like, if someone really doesn't like it, I consider that the same thing as them loving it.
That kind of is, right? Because they're putting the same
amount
of
it that much retail space in your head.
Then you love it, right? You love it because it pushes a button.
It's like the girl in kindergarten that, you know, hits the boy that she likes.
Yeah, she keeps pinching him. Yeah.
It's no surprise, you know.
It's like when the new album's coming out next year. You could buy
it. Man, but for real though, I'm super hype. I mean, I'm excited to get back and talk about side 2.
Yeah.
I think we did some real fucking cool shit on there. And I'm real happy with, you know, I'm real happy with side 1. I think they're going to be appearing, you know, being released within a very small window together. So maybe give like a little 2-week break or something in there to let people digest side 1 and maybe come back with side 2. We haven't really worked out the 100% details.
But it won't be months later. It'll be pretty
they're
close.
both done. Yeah. They're ready to go, you know, so.
Oh, yeah, they're ready to go, man.
I'm looking at doing these little combos we're doing the same way as the release kind of thing. Like,
hell yeah,
we'll drop it and then have this, you know, accompaniment for those who want to find out more. You know, there it is.
Yeah, man. And then, you know, I just want to make sure I don't leave anything out. So, like, as far as features that were on this, right? We had Cat in this project, and then there was a small taste of technical.
Yeah. He trusted me. I had on Guitar Case Guns, I had a little part where I heard his voice. I'm a fan of his in general. Like, it's my man. We go back years and years, and
yeah, he's a cool guy.
So yeah, you know. So anytime you have history with someone, if you're still active, there'll be times where you hear them, like, and you're like, oh, he would sound dope on here.
Yeah.
And he had a couple other things he was working on for the project, and I was like, yo, could you just say this line, like, for me, and just let me, like, use it? And he's like, you sure? Yeah, just say this. And he did, and I was like, thank you, I appreciate it. And, you know, that was on there. And,
and I love the way it worked out.
He's on side 2 heavy. He's got my favorite feature on the project is his on side 2.
Yeah, and I love the way it's like we got Cat showcased on side A as far as features go, and then you a little taste of technical, and then
little Gonzo.
And then Gonzo's on there for a little taste, and then the side B, it's like they make a little bit more home.
Yeah,
you know
you have more.
Yeah.
Those people take a bigger space on side 2, and you know, like I said, I think it provides like a little time for everyone to get a spotlight instead of trying to
put everything like mushed together.
Put everyone on everything where it becomes too much. Like, nah, let this person splash this area, and let this person decorate the corner over here with this, and have that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, like
some
with Cat, right?
Space.
Like we didn't. You're already recording the verses to this, and we didn't even know Cat was going to be part of it. And then we got Cat with the Can't You See? And then what was the other one? She has the
she wound up on One Man Gang because
One Man Gang.
She was listening to the project where it was at that point, and I said to her, I'm like, thank you so much for what you did on this other song. I said, if there's anything on this project that you want to sing on, just fucking, I'm gonna go outside.
And she came up.
I'll come back, and you know, don't be shy, you know. And sure enough, I came back. She's like, oh, I got One Man Gang done for you. I'm like, oh,
and it was perfect.
You know?
It gave that track, I think, the sauce.
It put a Nina Sky touch on it. That's what it reminded me of Nina Sky on "Hold You Down" with Alchemist. It sounded the same.
Oh, okay.
It sounded exactly like that to me. I don't think she realized that, but that's the vibe I got from it, and I was like, man, that's butter. Put that on the toast.
Yo, and then I wanted to ask you, right? So, from an artist's perspective, right? And you kind of touched on this already, but I'll ask you directly. So, like, you know, what do you want listeners to take away from this project? Or what were you hoping they would take away from this project?
I wonder what this guy's going to do over like his own stuff.
Okay. I like that. Yeah,
I want
create more intrigue, right?
Yeah. I don't mind if he can't do that over his own shit though. Okay, let's stay tuned.
Stay tuned, right?
Stay tuned.
You might be pleasantly
surprised. I have evidence that I will be releasing in the form of projects over the next year with my ace Domincello that I suspect will change those minds rather quickly.
Oh yeah, I very much totally know what you mean, bro. We got
that really would be the main thing. And as far, you know, I would also want like artists to hear and be like, you know, this is someone I would want to work with.
Yeah. Okay.
Know, I'm way more. I tend to have more of a inclination towards working with people than like achieving like fame.
Yeah.
Like
You're
way
just all
more
about
into
creating.
Like, that opens the door to work with this person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
you
saying?
just want to create the next best thing.
Yeah.
Like
I just want to create dope shit and have the means to access certain things. Like I don't want to be doing AI downloads and shit. Like I'm trying to get, you know, real finicky with it.
Now, like, remember that Royce mixtape we listened to where that was almost, we were talking about like a Rolodex for him to show his diversity, right?
Yeah.
You would say that this plays a part like that for you too?
Absolutely.
Right? Because you're very diverse from your flows, from the types of tracks, the genre. I mean, like, you know, some of them are so far apart from like Berserker down to, you know, the Easy Does It track
Yeah,
Like those are very
totally
different sounds.
different. Sudafur versus PREZZY Launch is like
exactly, and you wouldn't hear too many. Like there are certain even if they're popular, there's certain rappers that can't do that, or there's certain artists that have pigeonholed themselves as an artist that might be able to do it, but they can't now because they're known for this, right? You know,
right? No, there's a lot of truth to that. I always say like there's a certain like guilty pleasure or almost like an innocence to not having been fed from music like that yet.
Okay,
like where you haven't really had to say, well, no, this is how I make my living. It has to work.
Yeah,
like it allows you more space to create different shit. It just
and to create how you're feeling, right? Because like I've heard the story where you got, you know, an artist that is doing that, but then all of a sudden and I've seen this happen in my world where, you know, a rapper's creating a lot of different things, and then one song hits, it had a certain vibe, and now all of a sudden that's all they're going for.
Yeah.
Because that's where they got that feedback, and now like I feel like they're losing it. Like what made them like that track is that was created because you loved it, and
it was also
now you're not listening to your voice
with other things, and now you just went in that I totally feel you, bro, because I think about that a lot, and it's one of the reasons why I love doing multiple projects at the same time, is that you could go into different chambers of the sounds, and then you kind of come back and look from 100 yards away, and you go, oh, well, I see now that this guy was painting this picture on a bigger scale too. Like the sounds of like, so you covered all different angles of this perspective and this picture you've been painting, right? And it's like that's really the goal. Like that's, you know, you can't. It's like they call it the divine dissatisfaction, where it's like the struggle as an artist that you find in trying to express everything in your soul in the work.
Okay.
And it's impossible to do it in a song. But sometimes you feel like you got close.
Okay, I feel that.
And that's what keeps you going. You know what I'm saying? Is that like, you're never going to get it, but sometimes you get close.
Yeah, and like that's kind of like
that's to me what keeps me going.
Chasing that, right? It's like chasing that, not necessarily perfection,
the creative finality. Like you want to feel like you finished, you're done. I got nothing else to say. But you'll never get to that happens. Point.
Yeah,
you'll never say it right. You'll never get it all out perfect.
Because you're evolving as a person too,
right?
You know, and
because you're never going to be that same person in any given moment.
After that song's done, you're a different person.
You see what I mean? So it's like this divine dissatisfaction. It's like, but that's what keeps you going, is because sometimes you could look back and go, I was pretty close right there.
Yeah. You know, and I'll tell you, like, so I've been on this ride with you for a while now, right? From starting with, you know, hearing your old stuff to putting out the inaugural Balls Tape EP with you, right? Which was which was mostly originals. I think 70% is like me and you, and then you had some leftover tracks that you had brought that we got onto that one.
Studio,
and then then this mixtape was after that. We have 2 other studio albums that are already basically done after that. We still have to record the vocals, and then an EP, right?
Yes.
And like when I first started, like the best way I can explain it, right? Because you're different, and that's what why I'm doing all of this with you, right? Because we're not doing what's already been done, right? And like, so let's say you have an artist that's painting a mural on a building, right? Like a big mural, right? And like all they've done so far is painted the hand, and let's just say that's the inaugural Balls Tape, right? I can't tell you how great this artist is yet because I don't see the whole picture yet, right?
Right.
And like every time we're putting something out, I feel like we're drawing in this gigantic masterpiece that's now starting to reveal itself, and then it's like, you know, because
that's a great metaphor, bro. Because, and I think that's one of the reasons why the mixtape had to come out first, is because it is in a lot of ways.
It's like tracing it out, you know, and now we're going to fill it in.
Ways, it's a foundation anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just expressed through the music. But in a lot of ways, like with all the inspiration and classic stuff that's pulled and unique fucking, you know, little pockets that were tapped into, I feel like that's kind of what gives it
It almost sets boundaries, or like you said, the foundation. It's like
yeah, like it gives texture to everything else that'll come out now after it.
Yeah.
Like you kind of get. I think it gives a much clearer picture of the artist behind it. In as far as I think it helps you listen to other stuff that I come with. That's of my own.
and really listen. You know what I mean? Like you ain't just listening and be like, oh, this shit's hard.
I'm able to gain some trust and some equity as far as I'm curious to hear what he'll do.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no big thing. You know what I mean?
Yo, and I'll tell you. All right, so then my final question I got for you, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure everybody else is going to be asking this after they hear the project, right? So, can we expect a volume 3 in the future?
Oh, it's funny you should say that, man. Yeah, I was going through one of my folders earlier and was like, I got like at least
the random raps on our sampling?
Yeah, I got at least
of shit there.
40, 50 right now that I could put out volume 3 right now. I mean, I'm not, but I could.
So you're saying there might be a volume 3
there'll
one
be a
day in
volume
the future?
3.
All right.
There'll be a volume 3. You could figure anytime I have a full album, there'll probably be a mixtape floating around that time.
Yeah, because we need some avenue to just go crazy
Yeah,
and
and
be
I'm
ourselves,
always
right?
writing, and it's like there's always different things that you could do a mixtape off ideas of, like
and even with
sometimes
like me making beats where that I'm using samples that we might not be able to get cleared, like fuck it, let's make a mixtape, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like we have a little joint over that one particular album that we were fucking with, and it's like that. I could put that out as a mixtape, like. Or we could do something else. But so it's just a matter of what works in the time frames that we're doing other things. Like when you start looking at what's the next 2 steps.
Yeah, like where does that then even fit within the other stuff too, right?
And, if I don't want to have too much in the backup, like I want to clear things out every now and then, and that's kind of how I look at it. Is like, look, this stuff is too fire. It's got to come out at some point. So it doesn't have a home here. Maybe it's going to go on the mixtape.
There's definitely a list of tracks that haven't came out yet that you're like,
so I
have to go somewhere.
There's some heavy hitters that are just floating around right now, and whether they find a home where I thought they would or somewhere else,
they'll find a home.
They will not. Sorry, pardon me, I apologize. They will not go without shelter, is my point.
Yeah, no, I feel that, man. So yeah, bro, I mean, this project was just being on the inside of it, like because again, every show we've had, we're always talking about someone else, right? So being able to kind of talk about a project where I have a perspective that nobody else has, right? Because I'm inside it with you or close enough to you that I can poke some questions. That I think this was a cool show that really gives some dynamics to like what we're doing, what we've been doing, because this is not just something that started a year or two ago. This is the continual just evolution of you developing as an artist over 10, 15 years,
Yeah. No, it's a fact. That's a fact, man. I mean, it's been an incredible blessing to be working with you because, like,
same here, man.
The ability to find a common ground as far as how you approach something is not always easy, and so to be able to work with someone that matches my fucking drive with it's the only way I could really thrive. Like I don't feel like I could thrive in an environment where I'm the only one swinging for the fences.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like
I gotta feel like or else I'll just do it myself. Like it's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't need a quarter. Of giving a shit, because it's like I give a lot of a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and so I know that seeing you build your shit over the last couple of years, it's like I trust that this motherfucker. I don't have to trust it even because I see it. It's not a trust involved even. I see the fucking work this motherfucker does. So
that's why I say, like, you and I
had years of friendship already. So it's easy to kind of cross into that into that where you go, like, I know how this person operates.
Yeah,
You know
hell
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
bro. And I love the fact that like I didn't meet you until I'm about 18, 19, but we
Yeah.
grew up like a mile or two apart. Like so,
It's
like
crazy.
we have those
Crazy.
same references. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like we kind of cut
100.
from that same cloth. So I think all of that is very evident when you start hearing our shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Because
I
it's
think-
cohesive
I think
because
that-
we're on the same page. You know,
Especially
Yeah.
like some of the videos, like the perspective changes video. That's offside too. We'll talk about it. You know, but there, a lot of stuff where you start seeing how you and I kind of have this history and how it plays a role, like you said, in a lot of what we're doing now.
I mean, you hear it
think
all over side
Yeah.
A. You know,
Yeah.
first
It's
couple of
definitely-
tracks is like
it's
kind of
coming
all
from
talk.
a certain point of view, and
Yeah.
you had to be there. You know what I mean? And,
Exactly.
like,
You had to be
You know
there.
what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
I like that.
I got the ticket
think-
stub.
because somehow what resonates smaller is what resonates bigger anyway.
I mean, even down to the name of our label was construed
Heard
with
Records was what we were saying in 2000, talking about you heard, and it's
Yeah.
still to this day. I'm always saying that. You're always saying it. So like, I couldn't believe no one had this shit already. I was
I
like,
couldn't believe it either, bro. When we got that incorporated, and I go on GoDaddy, I hit enter. Hope I'm like, you kidding me?
yeah,
Nobody's
like,
got Heard
LinkedIn
Records.
shit,
Nobody's got Heard Records. I'm like, well, I do.
It
that.
seems
Right,
crazy.
we do.
I
Yeah.
thought the same thing. I was like, nah, someone else definitely got it. But nah, it's like the like I say, the universe, it favors.
Bro,
the-
even down
favors
to
the
when you
world.
were in my room in Forest Hills in Queens, 2007, 2008, inside the home of DAP Productions, right?
Yeah,
And that shit's
yeah.
on the wall right there. You know,
Yeah, it's
you know, and
crazy,
it was
bro.
Dominic
It all
Casello
moves.
Productions originally. You know what I mean? So like, it's
It
all.
all comes full circle, bro.
Yeah.
It really does, man. Like I said, like I believe in all these synchronizations and unifications and anyations.
Yo, and you can't see it until later, no matter what, right? Now we've seen it
It's-
enough that we
But
trust
that's what
it
I mean
because
about
it's
we have
there.
to do
This
the
is
steps.
guiding
I always
hand.
say, that's what I mean. Is like you can't. How do you have a bigger picture if you don't have a smaller picture first? Right? You can't, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
So
you got to have like an idea, you know, that you're
it
moving
has to
towards.
grow, and it has to. But if something to grow first, you have to have it.
Yeah,
You know?
you got water
So-
it. You got to There's like there's just so many.
So you know, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been a pleasure having this talk now. I mean, you know, this is cool, and I hope that for people who gave a fuck enough and wanted to peep the album, and they will get maybe left with some head scratchers, or, maybe we filled in some of those answers here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for real.
Hey,
Yo, and if for some
I
reason
will
you
catch
ended
you
up
on the next one, bro.
If for some reason you ended up watching this whole episode and you haven't heard it yet, there'll be links on the bottom so you can go check it out. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. It definitely is.
We'll be coming back with the re-up volume 2 sides who are coming very soon. We'll sit down and chop it up about that, the second half of this project, and I look forward to doing that, bro.
Yeah, man, and I hope every other project. I'm sure you're going to hear us saying this about every project in the future too. About this was the best one to date, but like this is definitely the thing I'm the most proud of at this point. That's been released.
Likewise.
And I'm
likewise.
sure it'll be the same way with every other one, or at least I hope, right? If we're doing it right.
I think we have some
But-
exciting times coming up ahead of us, and like I said, I enjoy doing this on a real personal level, like
On a
you know what I'm saying?
Chestology level?
I'm Chestology. You know what I'm saying? I'm about what feels good here. And
Yeah,
so-
following your intuition.
and that's it. And so we'll definitely we'll be back with the flip side of this, man. It was a pleasure.
Hell yeah, man. Well, and have good luck on your podcast tomorrow and or your show.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, man. Good shit, Prezzy. So fucking have a good night, and to all y'all, fucking take care.
Yo, you heard.
Yeah, you heard, bro.